Hey guys, welcome. This is my review of God of War Ragnarok. What did God of War Ragnarok ever do to me? Well, stay tuned and find out. God of War Ragnarok is a AAA title by Sony's Santa Monica studio. It's a direct sequel to 2018's God of War, a reboot of the franchise by the same name. It's a Sony exclusive and has only ever appeared on PlayStation and PC. Right off the bat, I'm going to tell you that I was not a fan of the original God of War series, and so I'm not an expert on the debate between whether or not the new direction of the series is taken is a good one, and I'm not a series lore master either. That said, I've played through the original game on PS2, and since being wrapped up in God of War 2018's story, I've done enough YouTube research on the plotline of the past games to make me competent at least. I'm inviting you to watch this video assuming you have played both God of War 2018 and God of War Ragnarok, the latter of which I will be spoiling entirely. I'll be discussing gameplay, story, and opinion on the game in a completely disjointed and disorganized way. You'll see. And I'm going to make no attempt to conceal spoilers, be they audio, visual, or whatever, from this point forward. This is fair warning. If you haven't played the game and you don't want it spoiled for you, come back and watch after you're done. In order to provide some context, let's first talk a little bit about God of War 2018. I love this game. I played through it on Give Me a Challenge difficulty, completed everything, earned my platinum trophy, which is something I rarely do with games, even my favorites. I enjoyed the combat after being really bad for a while, but by the end I was one-shotting Valkyries, I was pretty good. I really enjoyed the story, even though I thought Baldur, as the only real notable villain throughout the entire game, was pretty thin. When he showed up, it just made me think of what, mighty badasses were going to be after him. So imagine my disappointment when he's the fucking final boss, I felt that was a ripoff. I felt the character development of Atreus was a bit clumsy, as he was sometimes really insufferable and annoying. And yes, I understand that was the point. But I still liked Atreus, and he was useful in combat as well, which is really what counts. Overall, God of War was perceived well and largely considered to be gaming with an AI partner done right. Name one other AI partner you've ever cared about as much as Atreus. I think that was a huge part of its success. That said, the real appeal of the game is Kratos, his character development, and how he interacts with his son and those around him. This is a guy you know is all-powerful, has brutalized an entire pantheon of gods, and now has to learn to be gentle and kind and raise a child on his own. That's the stuff we're all hooked on and want to see how it unfolds. So by the end of God of War 2018, even though I felt the story was a bit thin, left something to be desired, I was still entirely hooked and couldn't wait to see what was going to happen next. Okay, so that was insufficient probably, but it's enough to give you some perspective on how I felt about the reboot. Now that that's out of the way, and we're too long into this video, let's talk about God of War Ragnarok. I want to start with the improvements I think Ragnarok makes over God of War 2018. Let's start with the big one, the best improvement, the thing you can tell they put so much great work into, the boss fights. I had so much fun with the boss fights in Ragnarok. No more 12 of the same recycled boss fights, no more boring scripted stuff. There is some scripted stuff, but it's less boring. Every fight felt fresh and different. The feeling of not knowing what you were getting into, but definitely knowing that you were in for a new challenge and a new spectacle every time was really the highlight of this game for me. I was constantly looking forward to new boss fights and the rewards that I earned for completing them. The Dreki was a big favorite because it's a challenge when you first meet it, and then later on you fight two of them, and you're like, okay, that was crazy, but I did it. And then you fight two of them again later, and they're no problem. Even the sort of scripted, checkpoint-heavy fights, which were my least favorite, felt more fun and well thought out this time. I enjoyed fighting Heimdall and having to figure out how to use the spear against him, and even the Odin fight, something I went into expecting not to enjoy, did feel epic and fun. Some other favorites were the Flame and Frost Phantoms, Freya's Valkyrie form, and the Light Elf boss from the library. Probably more of a mini-boss, but whatever. Overall, Santa Monica Studio succeeded in creating a game with great, engaging boss battles that felt grand, provided just enough of a challenge, and felt fresh every time. And I'm sure that's not easy. Another, quote, improvement, for better or worse, was the size and scale of the game world. God of War Ragnarok is huge. I was entirely surprised by how many areas there were and how much there was to explore. It's daunting. I don't think this is Elden Ring-sized levels we're talking, because every area Ragnarok is largely linear. Even the more open areas have defined paths. But as far as this style of game design goes, linear, branching paths, sometimes connected by a hub area, sometimes by several hub areas. This is the largest game I've ever played. I was 40 hours in, still discovering areas that contain 3-4 hours of gameplay or more when fully explored. How did they do this? How is this game on PS4, actually, is the real question. It's also an intricately detailed world. Every corner of every area is teeming with flora, fauna, obstacles, collectibles, treasure chests, trash mob encounters, mini-bosses, lore markers, shortcuts. These environments were crafted by masters. Everything looks beautiful and feels like it's alive. This game world is a triumph, and I can't credit Santa Monica Studio enough on what they've achieved here. It's actually mind-blowing. Speaking of environments, Ragnarok's traversal has improved over the last game. Kratos feels just a bit more zippy, moving around environments feels more fluid, and there are still instances of crawling through a small space or sidling along a wall to conceal loading times, but this is forgivable considering the size of the places you'll be exploring. Chain swinging around combat environments to get a new angle on your enemy feels great, and even the walk speed feels better. I'll get into a bit more later about this, but I'll say that the story felt much more full this time. I like that there were many more characters to get to know and enjoy, and there was just much more going on. I don't know that more necessarily worked out to be better, but I certainly felt like I had enough by the time it was over, and I did not feel that at the end of God of War 2018. So, from here on out, I'm gonna dunk on this game. More of the notes I took during my playthrough were criticisms, and those are ultimately what I wanted to share with you. But I wanted to preface the rest of this section by saying that I am very good at finding things to complain about. So if you disagree with me and you love this game, I encourage you to continue loving it and to take everything I say with a grain of salt. Also, I love to argue a solid point constructively, so the comments here are open to start a discussion anywhere you feel you may agree or disagree. So, I'm just gonna get this out of the way immediately. God of War's trash mob combat is bad. The key word is inconsistency. You simply do not know what is going to stagger an enemy, what isn't, what they will poise through, and what they won't. That's because, from what I can tell, there is no rhyme or reason to it. Because of this, at least at the upper difficulty levels, it's only ever worth it to attempt a 3-hit combo on whatever enemy you're fighting, even with an opening or a parry. There are countless frustrations during trash mod combat on higher difficulty levels that do not involve difficulty. There are several reasons for this, chief among them being the new camera Santa Monica implemented in the game. They kind of made it so that you can turn the camera a bit and made Kratos a little smaller in the frame at times during combat. This causes the indicator arrows, the symbols that appear around his body to alert you to an incoming threat, to be much smaller and sometimes not decipherable. You can't quite see how many arrows there are, where exactly they're pointing, or worse, the game HUD blocks them entirely and you take damage with no warning. Often one hit will drain over half your health points depending on what you're fighting, so you're forced to corral enemies into a group and try to get them all in front of you. This is a problem I did not have in the first game, but it would be an easy fix if moving through enemies were remotely possible without taking some kind of damage. If you're used to playing a Souls-like title where repositioning is often key to success, this is going to really frustrate you, especially during encounters where the order of the enemies killed is important, like the Nokken encounters. There are other instances where you want to eliminate a ranged enemy because it has less HP and it's spamming the shit out of you from across the arena, but you can't get to the enemy safely because running full speed does not make enemy attacks miss Kratos. I certainly don't have the answers on how to tweak this stuff, but I certainly feel like improving the warning system, the indicators, and some kind of ability for Kratos to move throughout the battlefield without taking as much damage as he does would have been a big help for me and alleviated some of my frustration. Next is another big one, the coaching. I just don't understand how someone didn't say when playtesting this game, "This is annoying. Shut this shit off." Or if not shut it off, give me the ability to shut it off. Or have the really intense coaching through puzzles happen only on easy mode, shut them off entirely for anything above regular difficulty. I don't know. There are solutions here for this, for sure. Easy ones that didn't happen and absolutely should have happened. I mean, there's no reason you should walk into a room where there's a puzzle and within under a minute, one of your NPC characters is telling you how to solve the puzzle. This is the other annoying thing about this part that I'm going to tack on here, though. The treasure chests with the different emblems, and you have to hit the gongs or light the torches or whatever those were the more annoying puzzles for me to solve throughout the game, and those are the ones you don't get help on. I would have appreciated some help on those. Hey, there's a torch up there. Fucking burn that. Great. Get me through this bullshit, you know? The other puzzles that were new, that weren't in the previous game, that are just traversal, that have to do with you actually exploring and looking around, why do you want to rush me through those and not the boring, ridiculous puzzles that have existed since the first game? I don't understand the choice between, like, why some stuff got picked for coaching and why some stuff didn't. Traversal becomes a chore once the new Sonic and Sigil arrows are introduced. You have something that was fairly streamlined with the occasional hiccup thing here and there, and then you add these two new mechanics that they don't add fun. They just slow you down and frustrate you. You know, now you're looking around for ways to shoot arrows and connect and whatever. You know, it's like, it was jank. Honestly, the Sonic arrow thing was not jank because you just see a thing. You see something you're supposed to fucking shoot with a Sonic arrow. You shoot it, you're good. The solutions to all my Sigil puzzles felt like I just made them up and maybe they shouldn't have worked, but they worked. Also, the level design as far as branching paths was really, really repetitive. You got every new area you walk into, there's a fork. One direction is some hack silver, the other direction is progression. So you make a turn. If it seems like you're making progression, then you got to go back because you got to go the other way to get the hack silver that's sitting at the other branch of where you just arrived. That was almost every single new area. So, you know, it's frustrating because you're basically flipping a coin 50-50 that you're going to do it in the most efficient way. If you get lucky and find the hack silver first, then you're moving right along. But if you go down progression, then you're like, all right, is this progression? Is it not? Should I go back? And having to do that half the time you reach a new area is frustrating. Hateful Draugr is simultaneously the worst and most reused enemy in the game. I mean, the mechanic where he charges up instantly and then you hit him, and if you're on, I don't know about the other difficulty levels, but if you're on hard and you hit him when he's charged up, that will kill you, or that can kill you. You can only ever attack this character with a 3-hit combo, and sometimes even the 3-hit combo is risky. That's annoying because you have to know. You have to just know beforehand. It's not about watching what the boss is doing and then reacting to it. It is knowing that this boss is going to poise through my attacks, or they have a likelihood to charge up this, this explosion that if I touch them after it's happened, it's going to kill me. It makes you have to be overly cautious. I mean, they were just awful. That leads me to another thing and about combat in general, whether it's boss fight or trash mob fights. It only ever makes sense to use a 3-hit combo on any enemy because you don't know whether the trash mob is going to poise through your attack or not. So why give me all these fucking awesome badass combos and strings and things I can do if all it ever makes sense to do is do a 3-hit combo? I found a majority of the attacks on the skill trees to be useless. I mean, unless we're talking about really niche, specific situations, most of the moves you can do are not useful in God of War because if you do more than 3 hits, you are putting yourself at risk to take damage. And in the higher difficulties, taking damage means starting over most of the time. So the new styles of trash mobs, I did appreciate that there was a large variety of trash mobs in this game compared to the first game. I really did appreciate that. However, the new style of enemy, the annoying whelp style of enemy where there's like 1,000 lizards crawling around and they need to be hit once and some of them explode, that was so way overused. And it's funny because I just played Ratchet and Clank and it's the same thing in that game. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart you get a wave of enemies, and then you get a wave of little whelp enemies you clear in one hit. And it's like, I don't know if this is like a new thing, a new style that's being used just to inject some kind of variety into the enemy types, but I would have been fine with it if it was used a lot less than it was. So, speaking of killing things in one hit, Atreus is way stronger than Kratos. Why is that? Why is that? Why did I always feel like an invincible badass when I was playing as Atreus? And then the second I got back to Kratos, I would be like, oh no, I'm gonna fucking die. Here we go. But Atreus can handle any trash mob encounter, no problem. And Kratos can't. And I'm not a game designer, but my suspicion is that Atreus' kit is he's just not equipped to do the combat in God of War Ragnarok. So I think they just gave him mechanics that were like, here, win this for free, essentially. And that made his sections really boring. You know, because you just felt like you were going through the motions to digest the story parts that involve him being alone, and then there wasn't any challenge. And then, of course, because you're this invincible badass, when there is a challenge, it feels frustrating because you're like so used to kind of just coasting through those sections. So I think the Atreus sections could have just been removed entirely, or Atreus combat should have been tuned better. And a sidebar for that, the Atreus Ironwood segment was just fucking awful. Like, you guys have to be fucking kidding me. Like, God of War Ragnarok, yes, great game. But a game with this section in it, you're telling me that's game of the year? Like, a game where you're riding a fucking yak through the fucking woods and you're collecting like 3 seeds and it takes so fucking long. That section's like 2 hours long or something? An hour? It doesn't matter how long it is. It's too long. It could have been a fucking 30-second cutscene, skippable cutscene, and then you get the exposition that you needed, you know? I get that there was the bonding with Angerboda and all of that stuff, which by the way, kind of went nowhere. But that section was, I mean, you just cut it down. It's too long, and it really, really broke up the pace of the game for me. I really considered stopping my playthrough, you know, during that segment. Okay. Here's a big one. Upgrades for armor, weapons, skill tree, etc. were convoluted enough without the amulet. I'm not saying this is like too complicated for you to figure out. It's not. That's not what I mean. I mean, there's enough customization, and there's enough customization that could have used improvement, where we didn't need to tack on the amulet and the extra shit that does, because it wasn't useful. The stat boosts are useful. The blessings are sort of, I guess, like fine. But at the end of the day, the amulet's not making or breaking any fight. The most important thing about you and your power progression in this game is your power level. And the amulet does nothing to affect that. So here's something interesting. Atreus seems to be purposefully annoying this go round. Less so than the first game, to be fair. But I feel like in the first game, it was purposeful. And I feel like in this game, it wasn't purposeful. And I don't know how to explain why I feel that way, but I just do. Like when you're going through the mines looking for Tyr, and Atreus just won't fucking stop saying Tyr, 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 Tyr. He's every fucking thing is about Tyr. Like, I don't feel like it's supposed to annoy you. I feel like the game's preparing you for Tyr and letting you know that, reminding you that's who you're looking for. I think they successfully create a sleight of hand with that because Atreus is so locked into Tyr. You find Tyr, the last thing you expect is that it's Odin, especially with the size and his demeanor and everything. I think they effectively achieve that, and maybe that's why, but I don't know. A lot of Atreus dialogue seems purposefully annoying. They seemed like they were trying to make him seem stupid or, you know, like a silly teenager. And it's like, the whole story arc is that Atreus does become competent and does become a hero in his own right. And so why do we spend the entire game looking at him like, you're making these fucking foolish mistakes and you're also this naive sounding child? What part of that makes Kratos and the rest of us and the viewer and the player go, oh, here's a capable hero who's come into his own? That zero of it. Unless we're talking about the moment where he steals the mask, escapes, and then Ragnarok begins. But I mean, that kind of leads into some other stuff that I'll talk about later, where I don't think a lot of the motivations during the story are qualified enough by actual events that occur. Speaking of annoying fucking partners, Freya sucks. Why do we like her? Especially during her boss fight with the big lizard thing, because she's fucking telling you everything to do. She's being super rude. She's never cool. She's never cool the whole time. She's always being fucking combative and aggressive and always bringing it back to how Ragnarok is so important and we need to fucking do Ragnarok. And it's like, I understand you're a woman scorned. There's vengeance and all this shit in your heart. But hey, you're supposed to be a likable partner. There's nothing likable about her. She's constantly nagging, irritating, aggressive, mean. I couldn't stand fucking Freya in this game. She was the worst. And just to round it out, Mimir, pretty good still. I mean, he was he was like the exposition bot for this game, but he was kind of that too for the first game. But I mean, God, he just never fucking shut up in this one. Just constant exposition about stuff that we don't see, has really no bearing on the actual plot. But I still found him funny. I found him charming. And I did like to see that the bond between him and Kratos had persisted, and that it did persist until the end of the game. I was kind of worried that maybe things were going to go left between Kratos and Mimir, and they never did. And I really liked that.
Yeah. You may tell a story if you wish.
Am I preferable to silence at last? A rare day. I'm touched.
Game needs way more Odin and way less talking about Odin, period. I don't even need to elaborate on that. So much talking about Odin, so little actual Odin doing things, Like, I get that you're supposed to like Odin for the majority of the game, and you're supposed to doubt all the things that they're saying about Odin throughout the game until he does this underhanded thing. But even the thing that makes his own family turn on him, which is that he made the regular civilians outside of Asgard stand and fight and die. We didn't really see that, really. We kind of saw it, but we didn't really see it. And then he kind of admitted to it, and then the big moment is that he kills Thor. But who fucking cares? Thor sucked. Thor was a dick the whole game. He was a fucking drunk. He was a murderer. Why did we care that he killed Thor? If anything, he did everybody a favor by killing Thor. So if that was the moment that made everybody go, okay, finally, we see that Odin's evil, it's not qualified. I don't feel like it's qualified to then go back and make you go, oh, okay, now everything everybody was saying about Odin throughout the game, in all of this exposition that was dumped on you throughout this 40-hour game, that's all qualified. I didn't feel that way. The level of tanking your NPC partner can do is ridiculous. Now, it's a good thing because, like I said, the trash mob combat in this game is fucking awful, and 1 or 2 hits and you're done. But it's also kind of fucking funny when you can hang way the fuck back and let 6 things just beat the shit out of Atreus and just throw your axe at them and kill them one by one really slowly. That's, I don't know. Maybe we should have figured something else. figured out how to, I don't know, streamline that, fix that. Rune lore posts are fucking pointless. And why are there so many of them? This is the thing, okay? I'm not against lore and reading exposition. I'm not against it. But these lore posts are full of the most mundane, fucking useless garbage. And after I read, I think the first 4 of them, I stopped reading them entirely, which made me not care to collect them entirely. But then the video gaming person brain that exists in my head is go collect it, even if you're not going to read it. So now my time's being wasted. And that fucking sucks. NPCs will warn above you when they really mean in the air in front of you. This is another trash mob thing. I know you. Listen, don't you lie to me. I know this happened to you when you played this game. Don't lie to me. Okay. Plants suck, especially the invincible spike shooting plant. Why is that in the game? Why did we need to do things? Why did we feel like we needed to do things to irritate the player this time around? You know, like why did we feel we needed to do that? Just no one said, "Hey, this is irritating. Hey, this isn't a good mechanic. Hey, this is interfering in the already difficult combat encounter I'm having." You know, now I understand that environmental hazards are part of the combat, but when the combat is already so daunting and so high stakes when it comes to the damage you're taking, introducing a totally invincible plant that you gotta fucking kill a thing that's hidden around a corner behind a treasure chest or something, like that's not fun. That's not injecting fun and challenge into the encounter. It's injecting frustration and annoyance. Here's another point about Freya. A lot of asking the player to care about things they're told rather than things they're experiencing themselves. Now, I understand it's a video game. It's a long video game with a big-ass story. But hey, it's only so many things Freya, someone who's already mean, aggressive, and uncool for most of the game. Now, did we kill her son? Yes. Okay, I understand that. She's mad. All right, fine. But don't stick around and be cool and be part of the fucking squad if you're still mad then. Go away and be mad over there. Don't be mad over here. And stop telling me fucking stories about Odin and all this shit that I have never seen, won't ever see, and will never be qualified in the story, which you find out later. The whole time you're like, all right, well, I listened to all this crap. I can't wait till this is all qualified when I see how evil Odin really is. And it's like, he killed Brock. Okay, now Brock is a lovable character, and Brock had that moment with Kratos, and it's beautiful. And I'm not gonna lie, I got a little emotional during that moment. I love that moment. That's a highlight of this game. The moment with Brock and Kratos, where Kratos asks Brock to bless the spear, you know? How fucking cool is that? But the killing of one dwarf justifying the entirety of Ragnarok, that's a little thin for me. That's a little thin. It's not like he does it in this diabolical way that's pure evil. He does it to distract them so he can escape. Now, is it cold and fucked up? Yeah. Does it piss everybody off? Of course. But Ragnarok, you know? I don't know. I don't know about that. The overabundance of useless collectibles, that kind of ties back into the lore posts thing, but there are lore items to collect as well that do nothing. But earn you some hack silver, which you already have the ultimate abundance of because of how much fucking hack silver you're collecting throughout the game. Poise is unfair because nearly every enemy has some, and Kratos has zero, always, in every situation other than your runic attack. This irritated me to no end. Kratos has these huge, big, powerful, winding up attacks, and he didn't get any poise for any of them? Like, look, the amount of damage you take in this game is dangerous enough. Let the man poise through some of these big, huge, sweeping attacks. It's so irritating to charge up a huge attack, and right in the final frame before the thing hits, you get dinged out of it by a little nudge or like by a little worm or something, and then the whole entire animation is canceled. That is not fun. That's irritating. Upgrade materials come when you've already found better gear. Why is that? What is with the upgrade system in this game? It feels like they're trying to keep you underpowered throughout the game. I don't know. I didn't play the lower difficulty levels. Maybe is it because you're too much of a badass and having a higher level would make the game too easy? I don't know. But it certainly doesn't balance out through the other difficulty settings, because I always felt underpowered in my playthrough, and a large part of that was because I was finding upgrade materials way after I needed them. Here's my last point. What happened to the music? The theme of the original game was incredible. The music in the original game was incredible. And I felt like, first of all, where's the theme? Where's the God of War theme? There were so many moments I wanted that theme to come in. Not a variation of the theme, not a refrain of the theme. The theme. Give me the theme. You know? And also, what happened to Athena? Athena has supposedly ascended to another plane where she's a higher power than any Greek pantheon, any Norse pantheon. She's in a different realm of like upper level gods. She showed up last game. What happened in Ragnarok? What happened in Ragnarok? Where does that tear in the realm go? Why is that there? Why did we spend the whole game speculating on this MacGuffin of a tear in the realm, and then we never find out where it goes, what it is, what it has anything to do with? Is Athena in there? Is Zeus in there? Who's in there? What is in there? Why? Why did you do this to me? Why did you make me care about this fucking green tear in the realm and then fucking just go, whoops, it's gone. Oh well. Anyway, so do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you think about these points? I know this was all over the place. That's kind of how I wrote it. So I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know in the comments if you agree with me, if you disagree with me, if you want to start an argument. I'm always down. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.